Well, hey there, and welcome to a brand new episode of Delivering Marketing Joy. I am your host, Kirby Hassman, and joining me today, brand new rock star. Super excited to dive in with him. He's the Chief Revenue Officer of Assertive Yield, Ryan Abrahams. Thanks for joining me, man.
Thanks so much for having me. It's a great opportunity to chat with you and to discuss some of the things that are going on in programmatic advertising.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to dive right in with you. So what project are you or your company working on right now that have you totally fired up, and why?
Sure. So I joined Assertive Yield last summer as the Chief Revenue Officer. I've been in the industry for 22 years, worked for companies like the New York Times and Google in my past. I've been a part of two successful startups that got acquired. One of them, Google acquiring a company called AdMelt. And Assertive Yield, I joined them last summer because we have this incredible real-time analytics product, as well as another total revenue management product that really helps websites to understand like which partners add the most value, add the most revenue for them. And one of the things that really is a unique selling proposition for us is the fact that our reporting is in real time. So we can tell you on your website exactly how much revenue you're making from each user, each article up until a minute or 2 minutes ago. And even for some partners that don't provide real-time reporting, we've built in a machine learning algorithms that can basically predict what the revenue is, which are like 94 to 98% correct. So, when you get like a product that really helps websites to save money and to generate more revenue and to really understand which partners are adding the most value, as a seller, right? Like you always want to be authentic. You want to be direct and straightforward. And it's really a blessing to work and to lead the sales efforts for Assertive Yield because we're able to, be totally authentic and provide a solution that really helps them to understand each user, understand which articles generate more revenue, and understand more about their overall holistic revenue that they're making.
Yeah, that's super interesting. And I by the way, it's kind of a side note, but I'm always fascinated by the title of Chief Revenue Officer. I think that's a fairly recent thing that I've seen, and I always think that's interesting to have someone who that is their focus. I think that's super smart.
Yeah, I mean, look, I've been doing sales for 12 years. The first 10 years of my career were working for a division of the New York Times in operations, and I got to understand like the back end of things, like how to manage yield, really how to work with the sales teams to really understand how clients think and stuff. So I have a good background of understanding the publisher side of the business because I've lived on it. Yeah. Our founder, Nils, who built the product from the ground up, built it for his owned and operated websites in Germany. So he took a look at like what was out there and saw that there was no real like analytics platform that could report to you in real time and to really understand what kind of ads you should show to each user, if you should show a lighter ad experience or more ads to them too. So really, if you look at what Assertive Yield is, we're built for publishers by publishers.
So who are some people that inspire you, like to be better, and how do they do that?
Sure. So I'll give it two different kind of separations. One will be on the personal side and the second will be on the professional side.
Sure.
On the personal side, definitely my parents. My parents are divorced, but my mother took my sister and I when I was 13 to learn transcendental meditation. I'm from Jamaica originally. My parents formed the first meditation group in Jamaica. Wow. And they she laid a foundation that really helps me to this day to really manage my mindfulness, to manage my stress levels and such. And she's created like successful yoga business in Jamaica as well. So she's a great example. Cool. My father on the other side is just a great person as far as like his morals, right? He taught me 2 wrongs don't make a right. And to this day, I still haven't seen him say anything bad about anyone. Even when my mom divorced him, he still didn't say anything bad about her. So like I have 2 like really good examples, on that side. On the professional side, there are 2 guys that come in mind. A guy named Ben Barocas, who I literally moved my family from Florida when I worked for the New York Times. Our CEO died. They laid off the entire corporate division, which I was a part of in Tampa, Florida.
Yeah.
And I moved my family to New York to get a sales job at this company called AdMeld. Now, Ben Barocas was the founder, and then Michael Barrett was our CEO, who is a really amazing leader in digital advertising. Those two guys took a real chance on me. Like, they hired me as a sales rep at a really up and coming, amazing company that had also a really incredible product in what we call programmatic advertising, real time bidding. And, you know, I ended up being one of their top sellers. I ended up doing really well for them, but they also like put a lot of faith in me, trained me, did a lot of hand holding, right? And both, you know, then Ben and Michael ended up selling the company to Google for $400 million. So
Wow.
they're really great examples of two people that are still good people that treat people with respect, but have been real leaders. And Michael has gone on to, I think he's the CEO of another big company called Magnet right now. So he's gone on to do amazing things as well. Everything he touches is gold. And Ben's doing some amazing stuff on his own as well at another company called SourcePoint.
That's super cool. That's super cool. So, but I mean, obviously you have a level of success in your life, but what are some things that you've struggled with, whether now or in the past, and how do you work to overcome them?
Sure. So my job is to sell to websites, right? What we call publishers, and it's a very competitive space. Like the big publishers of the world, the CNNs, the Disneys of the world, like these guys are getting hit up by sometimes hundreds of salespeople, right, at a time, right? Like, so over the years, I've lost my job a couple times, and those times were pretty difficult.
Yeah.
You know, I support my family, and you know, but I always jump back in, right? Like one doesn't work out, something else works out.
Sure.
And me, like, really being authentic and working for a company that I can be 100% authentic with who I am is really so important for me. I don't play the political game that well. I'm just too transparent and too honest for that kind of stuff. So working with a company like Assertive Yield really allows me to be exactly who I am, to not, you know, to be completely authentic and honest with all of our clients of what we can deliver, what we can do. And yeah, like that, those were some challenges, right? Obviously, when I left operations to sales, I had to learn, you know, how to sell, how to, like, you know, approach people. But what I really love about sales is I love relationships.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, love building new relationships with people. So, you know, I think, you know, websites and publishers, they want to work with people that they like.
Yeah.
And, you know, because I come from that DNA, I did it for 10 years. I think other people sometimes that sell to websites that have never been there in their shoes don't really fully understand what websites go through, what operational and programmatic people at websites go through on a day-to-day basis. And I've lived that. So I have a lot of empathy and understanding for what they go through on a daily basis.
Yeah, that's fair. That's cool. That's really interesting. So final question for you, my man. What's something you recommend? I mean, obviously you're working with, you know, team members, you're working with customers, whatever. What is something you recommend people start doing today to make their life, whether it's their personal life or their business life, better?
Yeah. I mean, look, on the personal side, like, obviously I mentioned earlier, like, I meditate every day. I think that a lot of us work from home right now. A lot of us, maybe some of us were affected by the pandemic in a maybe a negative way, right?
Yeah.
I think really meditating and understanding who you are and what value you add to the world is so important.
Yeah.
Hard work, right? Like every day, just getting up, having a routine, being, you know, exercising, right? Like meditation is exercise of the mind.
Love it.
Exercising your body. I do a thing called Factor, which they deliver meals to my house every day. It's like a keto type diet to keep me, you know, like I'm bald and gray, but I don't want to be bald, gray, and you know, a little bit too big, right? Like, so I have to, like, kind of manage that, right? So being healthy mentally, physically, and spiritually, I think investing in all of those areas of your life are super important.
Yeah.
I study a philosophy called the Four Agreements, which a guy by the name of Don Miguel Ruiz wrote. And the Four Agreements are pretty straightforward. Be impeccable with your word. Don't take things personally. Don't make assumptions, and always do your best.
Hmm.
And they're pretty practical agreements that I definitely try to live by. I try to like impart these philosophies on my team as such, right? And yeah, and I think also like do your best in your job, work hard, be authentic, be creative, be a team player, like leave your ego at the door. These are all important things. When you co-create with somebody, you add so much value versus like just telling people what to do. Like always listen to your team, listen to what their suggestions are, go off of that. But also I think for me, like I'm also a poet, and investing in some kind, and I'm a barbecue chef too, like part-time, like I'll do 1 or 2 events a year.
Nice.
So I think investing in something creative
Mm.
that fulfills a part of you that maybe your main job can't do.
I like that.
Right. So I think it doesn't mean that you need to make a living with that, right? Like it's just a matter of like, so definitely since I'm a poet, I wanted to share one of my cool things that I think maybe relate to what people and it was actually inspired by these 4 agreements teachings. So it's called invest and embrace.
Okay.
So it goes, invest in your creative force within, embrace your own individual art, embrace what your soul wants from the very start. Invest in love because this is the only true art. Invest in really loving yourself, invest in your mental, physical, and spiritual health. Embrace the divine energy inside of you for expressing the artist within is what makes you true. Invest and embrace.
Man, that's really cool, Ryan. I like that a lot. Thank you so much for sharing. That's really cool. And I love the idea of having, you know, something, a creative outlet that helps you not just make a living, but make a life. And I think that's really cool, man. I appreciate you sharing.
The most important thing for me is I'm a dad. I'm a husband.
Yeah.
I have 2 beautiful boys, a beautiful wife, and everything that I do really has to like also represent them. So at the end of the day, like as a professional, as a father, the first title is always going to be dad and husband. After that, it's chief revenue officer and whatever that means. But being a good team member, being a good leader from our team, helping them to really achieve their goals, to be a catalyst for that. These are the things that are most important to me. But it's really nice to work for a company like Assertive Yield that really adds a ton of value to the ecosystem and really helps websites to generate more revenue and save money too. So it's a blessing, and I know I'm very blessed to be their sales leader. So
that's cool. Well, Ryan, I really appreciate you taking the time. This has been really fun, and we'll have to do it again sometime. Okay.
For sure. Definitely down to do another time. And thank you so much for your time, Kirby. Hope you have a great afternoon.
You too. Well, that's going to wrap up this edition of Delivering Marketing Joy. We'll see you next time.